government very recently has announced what they're calling basically a new agency to take hold of defense procurement or to reform the way in which defense procurement is done. And part of what they pitched in telling Canadians about this new agency is the idea that we spend, 75 cents, for example, on every dollar on defense procurement in the United States, and they'd like to see that number change to move away from that. In principle, is that something you think is a good idea?
Well, I think for us, this is definitely good news. In the end, the creation for the agency for us is about getting the capabilities and the equipment that we need to better defend Canada. So the whole idea behind creating the agency is actually to improve our procurement system.
And from your perspective, as someone who oversees the Canadian military, how much room for improvement is there?
There is a lot of room for improvement, that is for sure. Like we've been commenting now.
Sorry, everybody. Jerica's got her animatronics. I'm going to close the door.
So, it's not only about creating this new structure, but it's also about consolidating the many aspects involved into procurement. But it is also about reviewing the processes because structure alone is not going to take us to where we need to go. So a huge opportunity here to streamline and do better in procuring at the speed that we need the equipment, especially in the current geopolitical context.
Yeah, and I do want to ask you about that because I interviewed the minister who will oversee the agency, and he described it as having the ability to be a single point of accountability, but to also essentially triage some of those capability needs. And I'm wondering from your vantage point, obviously someone who's intimately familiar with what our men and women in the armed forces need to do their job, what would you identify as the most significant capability gaps at the moment that you would like to see focused on first?
Well, we are already engaged in a significant transformation agenda. Our Army, Navy, and Air Force and Special Operations. And now, as of today, we have officially welcomed the Canadian Coast Guard as part of the defense team as well. So we are all engaged in historical transformation. And of course, the procurement system that was established in the peacetime are not delivering at the pace that we need for today's needs. So those transformation involve both expanding the personnel within our forces, but also it involves acquiring the many systems that are relevant in today's world. So the Army is acquiring long-range precision strikes systems. It's also about UAS, like uncrewed drone system, both air and underwater. So there's definitely that area that we need to do better. Counter drone as well is the other aspect of where we need to work. New sensors, command and control system, artificial intelligence, so digitization of our overall processes as well. So many areas where we are currently transforming the forces.
How would you describe, for Canadians watching right now, the risk environment in today's world?
Well, the risk environment is such that there are accelerants in place that accelerate the pace of the environment. And those, from my perspective, one are the climate change, and secondly, technology.
That's the military's biggest concern, climate change. Agenda 2050, Green New Deal. That's your military. You heard it right out of your Canadian military. And if you haven't noticed the last two interviews, they're all from Quebec. Because apparently Anglo-Canada can't be involved in any of this, right?
So equipping ourselves with the necessary sensors and radars to detect what could possibly come towards our territory, but also the ability to defeat what could possibly come at us. So the environment has greatly changed over the past 10 years in that our territory now is more at risk than it used to be before. And then we have to be in a position where we can actually deter those various threats.
And can we do that on our own, or do we need the Golden Dome?
So there is definitely a portion where we have to do it from a Canadian sovereign perspective. We have to take care of the Arctic. We have to take our responsibilities in the Arctic, and then do it collaboratively with our American counterparts.
Do you have $200 billion in your back pocket, Canadians?
Do it together, because as we know, missiles don't recognize borders. So that collaboration and partnership and complementary posture is absolutely necessary to do this well. So doing it together is much more efficient operationally.
Do you support in principle joining the Golden Dome?
So the Golden Dome, I have to mention, this is very much the American terminology to describe what they are doing. On our side, we have been working at NORAD modernization, which and various other initiatives which contribute to that missile defense within Canada as well. Now
So no, the answer is no.
Doing this together, what the Americans
We'll do
are looking at
NORAD,
in terms
America
of
pay
planning
Golden
going
Dome
into the
for
future,
us.
and
We'll
how we can
we'll
bring this
pay into
together
NORAD,
to
but
have
not
the
Golden
best
Dome.
possible defense for this continent,
The
for
US
North America.
Pardon me, I apologize. The U.S. ambassador, I believe it was back in May, told me that if Canada were to pull out of the agreement it has reached to secure those 88 F-35s, or the initial, not just the initial tranche, but the entire order, that there would have to be a discussion on NORAD, intimating that it could put the continental defense system that you just outlined at risk if we did not go forward with the F-35s. Do you have a position on whether or not Canada should move forward with that?
So I'm not gonna be stipulating on what could happen in the future. This is clear that we are in the middle of building capacity for Canada to defend itself and to cover the Arctic. So there's many different systems that contribute.
So the answer is no. They're going to look at China, the SUs, and the European Union, which we're not going to get. So it's China.
It's space. It's also about ground radars, and it's about water, like maritime, underwater. So there's a whole range of capacity that we need to build that will all be networked together to do this work. So again,
USA pay, we're not paying. It's always the same old lie. It's been going on since Stephen Harper, who gutted our military to 1% GDP NATO. And Canadians don't want to listen.
The other things that are necessary, like building out infrastructure and training pilots, should we go ahead with the F-35s? Can the military afford to wait for a decision?
So we're not currently in the position where we are waiting. So we are working towards this acquisition. Our pilots are off to the U.S. in the next few months to start training. The infrastructure is going up. We have airfields being extended to get ready.
But we haven't officially purchased the planes.
We are moving forward. And then once a decision is made, we'll just go with and ensure that we adapt to whatever.
So we're going to get all of it set up, and then if we're flying Chinese or European planes, that's the way it is.
So I think that will be for the government to decide.
Fair point. General Carignan, a real pleasure as always. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you so much, Vashi. All the best.
When we come back, new markets. The Liberal government is seeking to diversify trade away from the United States. Key to that, China.
There it is.
Nations remain locked
Told
in a
ya.
trade dispute. Is that going to change anytime soon? China's ambassador to Canada, Wang Yi, will be here after a short commercial break, and I'll ask him that question.
There we go. I'm going to do a part 3, guys. Letting you go because we're not going to watch commercials.